All right, welcome to another episode of the IDS podcast. I'm here with Eric Vogel from Coastal Cabinets, and thank you, Eric, for joining us for another episode.
Thanks, Brian. Good to be here. Hopefully I could give some insight into the outdoor cabinet world.
Yep, and we're here. We're in your Plainview showroom.
That's right.
And just to give a quick plug about what you do and what your company is.
Coastal Cabinet Works, we were founded about 15 years ago, maybe 14, as an indoor kitchen cabinet company. The owner has been in the industry now for over 30 years. And when he opened up like I said, we're doing interiors. We carry about 8 different indoor cabinet lines. And as we were progressing, the owner, Ricky Young, and I were talking about outdoor world because it was becoming more and more interesting and more people were doing it. And he asked me if I wanted to lead it and get it going. So I said, absolutely. I've always loved a challenge. So I started it a little bit before, about a year or so before COVID, which works out good. But on the other side,
that's almost great because everyone's home.
Yeah, but I was still building my client base at that point.
Okay.
So I was able to get out there, and I was very successful during COVID. But I was still working on building the clientele at that point. So it slowed me a little bit, but I still had a lot of business.
Yeah, great. So I think we're perfect timing now because now we're recording this in the spring leading up to the summer, although this will probably not release till midsummer. So we might have slightly missed the boat on getting people's outdoor kitchens ready, but nevertheless, we want to talk primarily about outdoor kitchens and all different types of things people should look for, both designers and even homeowners that might be listening to this, things they should be aware of, things they should consider. And I guess theoretically, even though it's summertime now is the time to start preparing for your outdoor kitchen for next summer, right? Because you're talking about at least a year out anyway. Generally,
the answer is yes to that statement. When this is released in midsummer or thereabouts, we still have some lines that we could still probably get you in by the end of the summer, but you're really running out of time.
Yeah.
But you really want to start planning, and a lot of times people will be doing this in relationship to a whole project outdoors. So you want to know where your gas lines are going, your electrical, your plumbing, all that stuff. So the earlier you get a jump on it, the better off you're going to be.
Cool. All right, so let's segue into talking about outdoor kitchens, and I want to start with trends. And what are the latest trends? What are the popular materials? Any innovative features? What are people doing in outdoor kitchens nowadays? And then, as a second part follow-up to that question, we can see how our conversation goes, but how has that changed over not only the last 5 years, because we know you mentioned COVID, everyone was home, so there was definitely a little bit of a different vibe going on 4 years ago than now.
Absolutely.
But how has that changed even over 20 years ago? I mean, 20 years ago, I almost feel like outdoor kitchens weren't even a thing, or they were just
it was a Weber grill.
Exactly.
And that was really about
it was
back then.
My outdoor kitchen, essentially.
Exactly.
What I have at home now, my Weber grill. Okay, so what's trending in outdoor kitchen spaces?
Actually, I was just reading a publication in NKBA magazine that the most popular type of cabinet right now is stainless steel. Then the next would be a synthetic cabinet line. That would be like a resin or an HDPE type of cabinet.
Is it stainless steel just because of sustainability, or
well,
that almost reminds me of like a commercial kitchen space?
Well, the stainless steel cabinets don't have to just be stainless steel; they can be powder coated, so they're not going to have that industrial look to it, and they actually even can do wood grain looks on stainless steel.
Okay.
So there's a lot more to it than just the plain stainless. But everybody used to think about an outdoor barbecue, an outdoor grill area, as like brick and mortar, and they would put a couple of inserts into the brick and throw a grill in there, and boom, you're done. Nowadays, it has just evolved in that. People are still doing the brick and mortar, but it's not as prevalent. It's actually one of the lower amounts that people are using.
That shows you where my head's at, because when I think of an outdoor kitchen, I think of brick and mortar.
Well, that's because that's what was there for 20 years. And then the other cabinet lines started coming in, and people now want their outdoor space to look more like their indoor space. Mm-hmm. So you can get a cabinet that looks like your indoor kitchen, you get more usable space in that as opposed to just insert. And a lot of times those inserts didn't even have a full cabinet, so you have dirt underneath or cement or whatever was underneath there, and critters get in there and all that other fun stuff. So it really has evolved a lot to the point where people actually want their outdoor space more practical, more usable, and not to look as heavy. So that's really what is good.
So you said more practical and usable. Let's talk about functionality for a sec, because I mean, it's obviously it's crucial to have a functional outdoor space, but what considerations have to be made to make an outdoor kitchen functional? Because when I think of outdoor kitchen, I think of barbecue and maybe a sink. But I know there's more to it. I know there's a lot more to it. I mean, I've photographed outdoor kitchens that have stoves and ovens and microwaves and everything, literally. Wine coolers, this, that.
Well, that's exactly it. People are, especially since COVID, they want to take more time outdoors. They don't want to have to be running in and out of the house. Warming drawers are very big outdoors, especially if you do a lot of entertaining. Mm-hmm. Because if you've entertained and you've been barbecuing, and you're cooking, and then you're trying to run everything out to the table, but you still got to finish cooking, you could actually pre-cook some stuff beforehand, so you keep it in the warming drawer, mm-hmm. and then you finish everything up, and everything can go out at the same time. So that's where people want to be able to entertain, but they want to have their conveniences there as well. And they have gone with a lot more. You said the other appliances outdoors, and that's very true. It's not just a grill; it's a power burner or a side burner. The Kamado egg, the big green egg. A couple of just names out there for the same thing. People are enjoying their cooking, and people are and the manufacturers that create the appliances for outdoors, they're right on board with that, and they've been coming out with more and better and stuff. So.
And it's almost everything nowadays. Refrigerators. I mean,
even dishwashers. Which is nice. And I tell people all the time, especially if the cooking area and the entertaining area is away from the main house, whoever has the responsibility to clean up, they're missing half of the party running it back and forth, everything into that. But meanwhile, they could just rinse the dishes in the sink and throw them in a dishwasher, and then keep going. Then they just have to do the dishwasher, and they're all done.
Easy enough. Let's just circle back to what we started talking about with trends, and how has customer preferences changed over. Like I said, I think COVID brought a big shift or transition in the way people think about outdoors. So let's talk about maybe even the last 25 years, where 25 years ago, like you said, it was just a Weber grill, like my outdoor kitchen. But I do have a gas line. It's not propane, so I'm one step above.
There you go.
Okay. Where it was just like a Weber grill to, what was happening in the early 2000s, let's say. And then, all of a sudden COVID hit, and everyone's like, well, we need to be outside. And if we're outside all the time, especially in the summer of 2020 when everyone was home, there was nothing to do, and everyone was outside all day, I need to build myself a hell of a nice kitchen. So how is that customer preference, or what the customer is looking for, changed over the last 25 years?
Well, just like on the inside cabinet world, the same styles don't maintain for the most part. On the inside world, you used to have the big arches on your wall cabinets. Those slowly over time got narrowed down. Now everything is square. Mm-hmm. So it's the same idea with the outdoor world. Initially, when people started building the cabinetry, and they had the brick and everything like that, they needed to have a footing underneath the patio to support the weight of that, mm-hmm. and it was very heavy looking. So and then all of a sudden, they wanted to do more outdoors, but they didn't want that heaviness of the look. So it lightened up the look of the outdoor kitchen. So that's why they started getting sleeker, cleaner lines. There's, depending on the cabinet lines, they have but the basic cabinet lines, that cabinet door styles that people like are the shaker door, mm-hmm. and the slab. Those are the most common door styles. There are some others that go along with that, but from what I sell, those are like my two top sellers.
Yeah.
But there are other things that again, they match the inside world. And they're trying to clean it up a little bit, make it not as heavy looking. And you don't need a footing on a patio when you're doing the cabinets today, which is it's a big cost savings too.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier sort of integrating, or you slightly mentioned it or you hinted at it, sort of integrating indoor to outdoor. And I know that's a big consideration. And I wonder if how you recommend integrating an outdoor kitchen to an indoor space, whether it's an indoor kitchen or let's say your living room or family room opens up into an outdoor kitchen, because you want it to integrate, you want it to look seamless, and you want it to match the style and the decor of what you have inside. So what's the best approach?
Well, first off, you have to look at the house and see what the house is looking like, and so you know where you're going with it. There's a lot of like a transitional room, which would be right off the house, where like maybe the glass panels all open up and it just becomes one big open space. Something like that, you really want to look at and either contrast the colors to make it look like you're a different space, but part of. Because I would tell people, if you try to get too close, it looks like you tried but you failed.
Okay.
But a lot of my clients will say, I have a shaker door a white shaker door in my kitchen. I want to do that outside. Yeah. We can do that. We like our wood grain doors. We want to do a wood grain on the outside. We like the rustic look. Okay, so based on their coloring and things like that, we can do that too. So there's a lot. So you have to look at the space. You have to find out what the client wants. And if it's a transitional room, you have a grill in there, you have to make sure that if it's covered, you have some sort of a hood. So with the hood, sorry.
No worries.
I thought I turned off the ringer, but
all good.
But in the transitional room, if you have a grill out there, then what happens is you need to have a hood if there's a covered on the transitional part. So you need to make sure you have a hood to make sure that the smoke doesn't get into the house and things like that. And you want to have your wine refrigerators and all that, and it just create a nice, seamless, clean space. A lot of it has to do with what they have currently and being able to take that and work with what we offer and create something that the homeowner likes, is functional, and attractive to them.
No, it makes sense. And on that note, what about integrating with your current outdoor space? So whether you have a pergola or a pool or whatever, a cabana, whatever else is going on in the house, and I'm assuming a lot of outdoor kitchens also are part of cabanas or built-in cabanas. How do you make sure to integrate it and have a seamless flow to the rest of your outdoor space?
I did a cabana early on, and they didn't want any grills out there, but they wanted a microwave. All right, because they weren't planning on cooking at the pool, but they wanted to be able to warm up.
Okay,
so that's fine. And I met with these people right at the beginning of COVID, actually, and we all met outside at the pool house that was still under construction. The builder, myself, the homeowner. And we're all standing in a circle, 6 feet apart.
Okay.
And we were talking about what the homeowner wanted.
That seems like so long ago.
It does.
It's crazy.
But as we were talking, I was showing them the different door styles and the colors and things like that. And she said, well, I like the color blue. I'll integrate that into some of the backsplash or something. I said, well, we have a nice blue for the cabinet. How about this? And I pulled out the blue and I showed it to them, and they went, perfect, that door style, that color. It's a matter of you have to listen to what your clients want and then try to give them what they're looking for. In this case, blue was her favorite color. So I said, and it was a beautiful shade of blue, and it really worked out nicely.
And it makes sense with a pool and all that stuff anyway.
Right, and it worked out very, very well.
Cool. Let's touch a little bit on technology. And I mean, maybe I'm just ignorant to the fact, but I don't know if technology has changed as far as cabinetry is concerned, and I'm sure it has. But on top of just cabinetry, which we can speak about, just technology in outdoor kitchens in general. So we have smart appliances now. We have all this different stuff that's going on. So how are people now in 2024, where technology is king and everything is smart? We all have smart homes. Everything is all controlled by our phones, or even AI soon, which is coming. And it's funny because I interviewed Joe on an episode, and we spoke about AI and how he's gonna start integrating AI into his home automation stuff, because that's just the way things are going. And I wonder if there's a place for that in outdoor kitchens also, and we can touch on. I'd love to hear your thoughts. He was basically telling me, and I'm going off on a tangent here. Anyway,
That's okay.
But he was basically telling me that AI is going to start integrating with home automation to the point where you know the AI algorithm is going to learn your routines, and it's going to know that, you know, every day, give or take around 8 o'clock, you go sit down on your couch at 8 p.m. and you turn on the TV, and you know once the AI knows this stuff, it's gonna do that for you. At 8 p.m. the lights are gonna dim and the TV's gonna go on to the channel that you like to watch, and it's gonna be ready when you walk down the stairs. It's ready for you, and it knows that at 10:30 at night you go upstairs. So at 10:30 it's gonna shut the heat off in the downstairs. You know what I mean? And that's coming. Stuff like that is coming. So I wonder if you have ever even thought about this, or if not, what your initial reaction is on how AI can possibly integrate with kitchens. And you know that's a whole nother conversation for another time. We have a lady on the podcast this season named Jenna who does AI for interior designers. So we're gonna really get into it during that episode. But I wonder if you have any thoughts about that as far as outdoor kitchens, because that is obviously a technological advancement. But beyond that, and a little more broad, I mean, what have we seen recently? But obviously, besides smart and even smart, how has that integrated with outdoor kitchens now?
Well, a cabinet box is basically a cabinet box. Mm-hmm. What I see as far as advances in the cabinet boxes are the ability to a little bit more weatherproofing of them, so the water doesn't get in as easily. So I see more technology as they sell more and they get more feedback. The cabinet lines are trying to make their cabinets a little bit better, more durable, longer warranties, things along those lines. As far as the AI,
what about hardware and stuff like that? I'm assuming, I don't know anything about cabinets,
okay.
So I'll just put it out there. But I would assume, hinge technology has gotten better, hardware technology has gotten better, all that type of stuff. I don't know what the hardware is called, where you pull the shelves out, stuff like that.
Well, the drawer glides.
I'm sure those have gotten better.
Those have gotten better. They're more weather proof, so that you don't. But again, those are generally going to be inside. That get very little openness to the climate. They deal with the temperature, but not as much the rain or whatever.
Yeah.
But the hinges are getting better, stronger, and as far as like the handles that people use to open and close the doors and drawers, we want to probably stay with like a 316 stainless steel. That's a 316 is a marine grade stainless. Mm-hmm. Either that or something that's porcelain or something that's made to be outdoors, sort of like anything marine grade, like you do on a boat. Yeah. As far as AI going into appliances, I would imagine that they're going there. Like the indoor appliances, they already have access. You can start up your oven on your phone before you get home, so it's warm and ready to go. I don't see very much of that at this point. However, that's someplace that somebody's going to want to start their grill and get it heated up before they go out there.
For me, that's genius. And I don't have none of my appliances at my house are smart, but my thermostat is smart. So for instance, let's say I go on vacation with the family for a week and we turn down our AC and we're coming home the next day. I don't want to walk into a sauna. I can throw my AC on the day before and at least we walk into a cool house. I can do it from my phone. My alarm system's from my phone. All my cameras are from my phone. But my grill isn't, and I would love to be able to turn my grill on, a half hour before, 20 minutes before I start grilling. It's all heated, ready to go. Now I got to go outside. I got to heat it up, come back inside, wait 15 minutes. So there is something there.
There definitely is, and it's out there right now. Where if you were cooking, you can put a prong into your food, into your steak, and it will transmit to your phone and let you know when it gets to a certain temperature. So you know that, okay, it's time to turn it, it's done. Okay. You don't have to go out there and guess. So it's there, it's progressing. I think as they get more advanced on the inside world, it's going to translate more to the outside world. The problem is if it's gas, and if you have a tank, you have to turn the tank on.
Yeah.
So you might have some limitations as far as that goes, but again, that could be automated as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So they actually have automation on
valves and stuff.
Yeah, so that basically it's a timer. Mm-hmm. I had one client that was nervous that their kids were gonna not turn off the gas. Turn on. So we got them a timer built into the cabinet, so that if they forgot in 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it would be, it would shut off, so you wouldn't have the gas running.
Yeah.
So
that's built into like my ovens at my house. I have a double oven set, and if the oven stays on for a certain amount of hours, it automatically shuts off because they assume you forgot. I don't know what it is, 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours.
You better remember that if you're cooking Thanksgiving.
I hear you. No, it must be more than 2 or 3 hours, but there's.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it must be something like 8, because I know my wife likes to slow cook a lot of things. But no, it must be something like that, like 8 hours. But yeah, no, that makes sense because it's dangerous. Yeah. So,
well, there's something to be said. I mean, the automation is great, but there are a lot of people still that like to use charcoal and other types of heat sources that the automation doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So, and they like the idea of being able to control it manually.
Yeah.
So so there's a give and take on that, though. So I'm curious to see where it goes, because everything is moving forward. If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards.
Exactly. Let's move. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but let's talk a little bit about sustainability and materials to make sure they last through New York winters, which can sometimes be brutal and sometimes can be beautiful. Like we had to.
The last couple of years have been relatively
nice. Hopefully that's the way things progress in New York for the next couple of decades. But nevertheless, we have had our share of brutal winters and blizzards and this and that. So I know you touched on stainless steel cabinets, which I didn't even know was a thing besides industrial. I would imagine those are more durable. I know wood doesn't work outdoors. So
it's not that it doesn't work outdoors.
Okay.
If you have to use the right type of wood in order for it to last for any degree of time. But the wood cabinets, and they are gorgeous. I can't say anything less than that about it. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of maintenance to maintain them. So if you're a high-end person and you want a wood cabinet and you're not afraid to spend money, it's a great mm-hmm. option. If you want the wood look, but you don't want to deal with the maintenance, and a lot of people don't want to deal with any maintenance, then we have products that you can use, like a resin product that has the look and texture of wood without having to deal with the maintenance of wood. Okay. So there are ways around certain issues. And as far as sustainability goes, the stainless steel cabinets are truly sustainable, because a stainless steel cabinet can actually be recycled if it gets done, so it can be reused as something else. Mm-hmm. Some of the other product lines that are like a PVC or an HDPE cabinet, those are not as sustainable because they're just not. Yeah. So there is that aspect of it. So if somebody's looking for truly sustainable, that's another reason why stainless steel might be a way to go.
Okay, and what about, I'm assuming outdoor kitchen countertops, you're talking about granite or quartz or...
Well, you can't... Caesarstone is the only company that they only have 3 colors that you can do with a quartz countertop, and that's primarily because the resin that they use to create a quartz countertop is UV susceptible. So what'll happen is any quartz product other than those 3 that Caesarstone makes will break down over time, and they won't be warranted. Granite.
So designers literally have 3 options. Well, for quartz.
Well, if they want to go with the quartz.
Yeah.
There are a number of other options that are out there. Actually, again, based on the latest poll by the NKBA, granite is still the #1 countertop for outdoors.
Okay.
But there are a couple of other products out there, and just to name a few, and not all of them because I can't, is Decton, which is made by Cosentino. They make a very good product, and they have a number of different design options for it. The one thing that I tell my clients is it's only 3/4 of an inch thick, basically 2 centimeters is what in the industry. So a lot of people in our area, they want an inch and a quarter, 1.5 inch thick countertop because that's what they're used to. So that's a design consideration that you have to talk to the people about, see if they're interested. Lapitech is another one that's a true sintered stone, and the Decton has some sintered. Sintered means it's man-made. Decton, which is sintered, as well as has similarities to porcelain. But the Lapitech, which is a true sintered stone, that does come in some thicker designs, and it's a nice product. It does have a limited amount of options as far as the designs to it, but it's another good product, and some are going with porcelain. So there are other options out there, but granite is still the #1 option.
Is concrete a thing? Because I remember, I don't know, it must have been 5-6 years ago where concrete countertops were the hottest thing on the market, and everyone had to get these.
The problem, I've had 1 or 2 people ask me about them, but nobody has ever gone through with it.
Okay.
The issue with concrete is concrete's very porous, so there's a lot of maintenance to maintain it over time. So that's really, and they do have lightweight concrete and things like that, but I just had the conversation with some people last week about it, and very few people are going with the concrete outdoors. It's an option, but there's even a local supplier on Long Island that actually makes them.
So let's talk a little bit about custom requests, because I'm sure you get your fair share. People are very specific about what they want. What's the best way to handle a custom request, both from your perspective or even from an interior design perspective? If you're a designer and a homeowner comes in and they have a very specific custom request for an outdoor kitchen, what's the best way to approach it besides just calling you?
That is the best way. When I meet with the client at the beginning, I always ask for their wish list, and I try to get what's most important to them. And then also based on the space. So some people want to put 120 feet worth of appliances into a 5-foot space. It just doesn't work. So everything is based on what you could fit into the space and have it be a usable, workable space. So again, I ask for what they like, and then based on the dimensions and things like that, I try to work it out. I had an instance where I had a client in Sag Harbor. They had an existing deck that was 7 feet deep and about 11 feet long, and they really didn't want to add on to the deck space. But he said, if I need to, I could add about a foot to it. Well, he didn't want too much in there. He wanted a charcoal grill, a gas grill, a pizza oven, a sink, an ice maker.
Not too much.
And I think he wanted a warming drawer too.
Okay.
I was able to fit everything in there. He couldn't go with the 42-inch grills. He went with 30-inch grills.
Okay.
And we, instead of going with a big pizza oven, we went with a personal pizza oven, which fit in the corner of the L shape. So,
The make concessions.
Right, I can do this, but in order to get what you want, we may have to do this. So, as long as a customer or client is willing to understand that, and if they don't want to compromise, then I say, well, the only other thing to do is make a bigger space. Exactly. Because I can't make that myself.
So can we talk a little bit, because we're running a little low on time, but there's two more topics I want to hit on. So talk about the workflow or the process of working with a kitchen designer from start to finish, from the initial consultation to the completion of the outdoor kitchen. What's that process like? What can both homeowners or designers who you're working with come to expect about that process?
There are a couple of ways that this goes.
Okay.
My contractor is finishing up the patio. I need to order a kitchen. How quickly can I get it?
That's not how everything goes?
About 50%.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good number.
So, again, depending on how quickly they want it, we have cabinet lines that deliver in about 4 weeks, and I have ones that deliver in about 10 weeks. Well, if you need it fast, you're maybe not going to get the 10-week cabinet. You may have to get the one, and you have to compromise.
Yeah.
But then so the earlier you come to a designer, kitchen designer, or the better off you're going to be, because you're going to have to run your gas lines, your water lines, and that is better to do before you put down a patio, before you do anything, so you can trench it and make it better. The other side of the coin of that, somebody that I need it now, is those that are building a home, and I do this when I'm working with builders, is I'll quote something, and then a year later, I'll get the phone call saying, okay, we're close. We have something for you to measure. Come on out. And then we're ready to go. But again, they needed to know what was going on. That's where a builder is different from a homeowner. A builder is planning ahead. The homeowner is responding to a crisis.
Yeah. Okay, and so you meet with the initial client. What goes on then? Do you go over their wish list, which is what we talked about? Do you
generally the way I work, I like to work, is I will initially meet them if there's something to measure. I like to meet them at their home, so I can see their space, see what's going on, get true measurements or close to true measurements as I can. So this way, I get a general feel for what they're looking for, and I ask them a lot of questions, about how they plan on using it. Do they plan on doing a lot of entertaining? What size grill? What size refrigerator? All those things that I want to know what they need, and I do that at that point. So this way, when I get back into my office and I do the layout for them, I actually will put it all together, and then I will invite them back into the showroom at that point. And at that point, I'll show them a color rendering of what it's going to look like, plus other drawings of it, and actually physically show them the door styles and the colors and options like that. This way they understand what they're going to be getting. That's really the best way to go, and they get the most out of it. They're inconvenienced the least, because they're making fewer trips here, so it makes life a little bit easier for them.
And how long is that process usually like? I mean, I understand it could be if they order a 4-week cabinet or a 10-week cabinet, but like that aside,
the design phase of it, I try to turn things around in about a week.
Okay. Okay.
I try. We're beginning of the season, and right now even I'm juggling about 14 different projects.
Okay.
Sometimes it's hard to meet that 14 that week thing, but within 2 weeks, I want to be able to have a layout done and have an appointment with the client to come into the showroom. Obviously, sometimes something needs to be bumped up if it's an emergency situation, because God knows it's an emergency if you can't make a hamburger.
Yeah. Hey, look, everyone has their own emergencies.
No, exactly. So, but basically, in about a week is what I try to set as my limit. But on the outside, it'll be 2 weeks. Anything over that, then the client is like going looking up someplace else.
No, it makes sense. Let's close off with budgeting. So somebody who wants to build their first outdoor kitchen, they've never done this before, any advice or tips you can offer to start budgeting for this, besides for it's going to end up costing more than you think?
Well, a lot of times budget is very important.
Yeah.
It is a luxury item. Last year I brought in a third line to work with. So I have a lower price, medium price, and a high price line. The problem is people don't have any idea what the price point is. So when somebody comes in or is talking to me, I'll give them a ballpark idea about a linear foot price for whatever lines to qualify them a little bit more, to see where they are in the process. If I tell them it's $800 a linear foot, and they go, that's more than I wanted to spend. I said, well, that's my least expensive line. Maybe we need to save it up, maybe do it next year.
Yeah.
But depending on where the people are and what they like and what they want, it is a luxury. And that's really what I try to express to people. I don't hide the fact that it's a luxury item, because besides the cabinet price, there's also the countertop price, the appliance prices, the installation pricing. It's not
plumbing,
just
electric, everything.
Yeah, it becomes it's not just one item, it's a bunch of items. So I recommend that if they're not sure, come on in, let me give you a price point of where we are, do your homework, talk to a contractor to get everything else done. And then at that point, now you have all your numbers. Now I always tell people, everybody has a budget. It could be $10,000. It could be $100,000. My job is not to judge the budget.
Sure.
My job is to try. I could design you the best kitchen in the world, but if you can't afford it, what good is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you tell me you have $10,000 for cabinetry, okay, this is what I can do in that price point. And that's where I try to tell the client. Well, some clients think if they tell me a number, I'm going to hit that number regardless.
Yeah, exactly. And what about any tips or I don't know if tips are the right word, must-haves for homeowners to get the best return on investment? Because like you said, it's a luxury item. They're investing money. It will make the value of their homes go up.
It definitely
significantly. But what things should they look for to give them the biggest return?
Most people are going to want to have a grill.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. A sink is very important. An ice maker is something which is really nice to have, especially if you do. Again, everything is based on if you entertain.
Yeah.
Refrigerator outside is great. Outdoor indoor trash that pulls out of the cabinets, because you're spending all this money on a beautiful pergola or something, and then all of a sudden you bring out a garbage can and you just set it there in the middle of the floor.
Or tie a bag to the fence.
Exactly. So those are like the core things. And one of the biggest things that people regret is not putting in a sink, because you're handling the chicken, and then all of a sudden your hands are dirty. You can't rinse them off, and then all of a sudden you run in the house, and then all of a sudden you just burn your chicken. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest regrets. So if you could afford to put a sink out there, and again, everything is, I'm talking generic, because if it's right next to the house, you have a sink right there, maybe you don't need one. Yeah. But that's really what I would say is like a grill. Side burners are wonderful things. Those are extra burners.
Warming plates, I think, would be a great thing.
Yeah, but most people, they don't need it. I try to ask them, why do you want one? Mm-hmm. It's like when I used to work for another company, and we used to sell bathtubs and all that other fun stuff. And people say, I want a jacuzzi. Oh, why do you want a jacuzzi? Oh, I love the idea of having one. I said, have you ever used one? No. Do you think you could use it now? Yes. Most people used it twice and then don't use it anymore. So
I had one in my old house and I never used it. Not once.
A lot of times people don't need it. But if you like doing clam bakes or lobster bakes or things like that, then you need a power burner. Mm-hmm. So it all goes back to those questions initially to find out what
you want and what's your budget and what makes the most sense.
Exactly, because that's really what's most important, is what's important to that specific client. And if you have a small space and you can only fit a 30-inch grill, well, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You have people that have a small space, but they want a 48-inch grill and there's 12 inches on either side of it. I said, I can do that, but you don't have any workspace, and it's going to be oversized for what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So, but if that's what the client wants, I'll explain the pros and cons of things to them and let them make an educated decision. Because really that's what my job is, to educate them enough so they could make a smart choice.
Cool. And with that, we'll close it out. I want to thank you, Eric, for joining us. Again, what's the website if anyone wants to see what you guys offer?
coastalcabinetworks.com.
Okay, easy enough. And we'll put a link in the show notes. And if anyone has any questions or wants to find out about anything regarding outdoor kitchens, they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Do you want to say your email? Does it matter? You can find you through the website.
You could actually, you can go through info@coastalcabinetworks.com.
Perfect.
Anything outdoors comes directly to me, since I head up the outdoor division. So.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for coming on, and I always love jumping into and seeing you at the IDS meetings. We always talk for a while, but I appreciate your time.
It was a pleasure.
All right, thanks.